Hello and welcome back to our next episode in Byte-Sized Tutorials Interactions. As you remember last time we did the light switches. This time round we're going to, as I said at the end of the last episode, deal with locking doors. So let's get to it. Right, how are we going to lock the door? Well, it's easy enough to actually lock it. We can just put a flag in there just to tell it it's locked or not. So we'll do that first. So if you either come to your content drawer, or if you've still got your door in your scene, which hopefully you should have, just scroll down to your door, click on it and click edit BP modern door 01. Now, to be fair, because of the things we're adding into this now, it's probably best to rename this the BP door base, and we can use it for any type of side opening doors. But that's not covered by this. But that would be best case scenario. You create this as the door base, and then all other doors would evolve from this, so that you only have to ever modify the base class of a door, and then create all your child classes from it. But just for now, we're just going to throw it into this door, and we'll get on with that now. So we need a flag to say whether the door's locked, and that's simple enough. We come over to our variables, click the plus, and we're going to say is locked, and make sure it's type boolean. Open the eyeball and compile and save, and by default it's unlocked. We might not want that to happen as that, but we also need to check whether it's locked when it first starts, because if I just suddenly tick the box, let me just, oop, that's not what I wanted to do. If I just come here and click on the door and I want that to stay there permanently, then we need to just change a few things in the script. But for now, let's just get on with this. What we also need to do is tell the user that the door is locked. So we'll deal with that next. So let's come back to our door. I've already got it open, sorry. Let's come down here. So come up to your other door interact, which should look like this. So you have your door interact. Check to see if the door's open, and it either opens it or closes it. Now we need to do a check to see if the door's locked. So what I'm going to do is just double click that, drag that out of the way, and I'm going to highlight that and drag this way. Now if the door's open, we don't care if it's unlocked. Yeah, we're just going to close it. We're not going to animate a slam and bounce open effect. You could do that later on. That means you would have to put some code in here, but we're not going to. If the door's open, you can slam it shut, but then you won't be able to open it again because it's locked. But we're not going to do anything when you're closing the door. But we want to check to see if the door's locked before we can open it. So that'll be on this is door open branch, false, which it's not. So you're going to try and open the door, but now is it locked? So simple enough, we need to drag off this false pin and type branch, and it should automatically prop it there in the middle. If it doesn't, just join it up as it is there. And then drag out our is locked onto the condition. I'm going to shift Q then. So is the door open? No. So we want to try and open it, but is it locked? Yes. Oh, we don't want to open it. So alt click there to delete that node connection, and then from the false into door open. That means now the door won't open if it's locked, and we can test that out if we compile and save. Come down, and if we hit the play, open, closed, shift F1, shift F1, not one, shift F1, and come to our door, and let's just manually lock it here. Is locked, and I don't need to save. I don't know what I'm trying to save. Click back in, and now we'll try and open it, and it won't. The light's going to keep changing because we haven't done anything with that. That was just a test to see if the light would connect to the door. But yeah, there we go. We can no longer open the door because we've locked it. Just to prove that works, shift F1, unlock, open, close. I will also test the fact that it will still close. Shift F1 when it's locked. So there, we've locked it now. It closes still, but now it won't open because it's locked. Brilliant. That's the effect we want. There we go. All done. No, just kidding. Now what we need to do is figure out how we're going to tell the user that it's locked. Now obviously they're going to walk up and try the door first, so it's just going to come up with open. So let's go back to our door, And this is the part here that checks the text. By default, it will always say open. You would have to change that if by default you have the door set to open, so that it's open before you get to it. But that's, we're not going to touch on that at the moment. But let's just deal with the fact that once it comes up, it will set this value here depending on whether it's locked. So if the door is open, we'll check. If the door is open, it'll come up with close. That's fine. But if the door is to open, we don't want to immediately set it just to open. We want to come off here and we want to branch. Okay, and if this condition here, which will be our is locked, so we'll drag that onto there. If it is locked, we don't want to set it to open. We want to set it to locked. So what we're going to do is come off here. So false, it will unlock, and ALT click on true. So we will bring this down, and then we're going to duplicate this with Control D, bring this up and bring the true into there. I could have just overwrote it, couldn't I? There. And we're going to change this to locked. Or yeah, no, we won't. We'll set it to unlock. Okay. So we now have told the user that it's now going to change to unlock. So if I compile and save this, and then we run this, open, close, that stays normal. Yep, Shift F1 and find the door, modern door 1, and lock it. Then come back. It's now locked, but because we haven't told it yet that it's locked through this part, because this is only done during the animation, we also need to check to see at the beginning. So we will put a construction script in, I think. So what we'll do is construction script. Always let it run the parent, so make sure that that's there. If not, right click, add call to parent, link it up. What we're going to do now is set that text based on its default value of locked or not. So interact text set, and we want 3 of these, because I'm going to set every single value on default. So if I drag that out to a branch, but those are a bit too close, let's move them across. So we're going to have that same procedure that we just had there when we was checking the door, but we need to do it by default. But I could have just copied and pasted, but I think it's best just to show you as this goes. So this is the first one. Is the door open? Yeah. If the door is already open, set as default, we want to set this to close. Now what we need to do with this one is just move them across a little bit more, and then we want to do another branch. So come off here on the false and branch, true into the top one, false into the bottom one, and our check now is it locked? Okay, I like to put these underneath normally. Don't know why I haven't been. If it is locked, it will say unlock. If it's not locked, it will say open. Compile and save. So now if we run this, by default it will say open and close. Yeah, but now if I change this to locked, it will now say unlock. Yeah, and it won't unlock, it won't open, and we're just, all we're doing is interacting with it. And because we're not dealing with interacting unlocking at the moment, the door's not going to open, because we also don't have any way of recognizing a key. So that will be the next part. So now we know that it's locked. Yeah. Let's just run that again, and let's come here. So unlock doesn't do nothing. No. Shift F1, and we're going to come up to it. And we're going to change. Now it's going to come up wrong because I'm doing this on the fly. I shouldn't be doing this on the fly, but I'm just going to unlock it, and then there we go, and it should say close. Yeah. If I shift an F1 and lock it, it should close, but then it should say unlock again. Yep. So the code is in there to put it back to that it's locked. That may never happen. It's very rare in a survival game that you would relock a door behind you, but you might find the need to do it. So that's why I put the code in both places. Possibly could have put the code in another function, which might be a good idea, so that you only call the function instead. But that, for now, this does what we want it to do, just what it says on the tin, as they say. So I'm going to unlock that now. And as you can see, it changes the text there in the construction script. Right. How do we unlock it? Well, it's simple, but the issue I've got here is people are going to have inventory systems, and I'm not going to recreate people's inventory systems to show you how to do this. But what you need to do is imply the same concepts I use here to the objects in your inventory that identify as keys. So how that will work with each individual person, I don't know, because everyone either makes their own inventory systems, or they'll download one from Fab or the marketplace or somewhere. So you need to figure out how you can put this sort of information or similar information into your inventory keys, yeah, which then tallies up to this door. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to create what's called a structure. And basically all a structure is, if you don't know C++ or Unreal or any type of coding language, you don't understand what a structure is. It's an object that can define a group of member variables in one block. So instead of having several variables inside your key for different things, you can just have a structure that has all the variables in them, so it keeps it nice and tidy. And I'll show you that now. So if you go to your content drawer now, I'm going to put this, let's get rid of that because that was me just testing out something earlier. My apologies. We'll start from scratch. Right, I'm going to put it in the folder with my doors, but technically this could go somewhere else. You might find somewhere else that suits it better, because it's not just for doors. You could lock cabinets, chests, lock boxes, all sorts of things. So I'm going to put it here just for clarification for now. Where you put it is up to you. It matters not, as long as you know where it is. So to create a structure, you right click or use the add here, go to blueprint, structure, and I call this st_lock keys. Alright, so we've defined our structure. Well, we haven't, we've made our structure, now we've got to define it. And like I said, it's just a group of member variables that describe an object. Okay, so this is going to describe our key. So we're going to give our key a name, and that is going to be, at the moment, I'm going to use string. It'd probably be best using something like text if you're going to use localization, which most games these days probably do, but I'm just going to use string for now, just to make this clean and simple. We're now going to add another variable, which is going to be its ID. So the reason I do this, instead of just using just the name of the key, text strings can be easily misspelled, mistyped, an extra capital here and there, or full stop, all by accident, easily done. So rather than do that, we'll have a uniquely identified number which can always be persistent and be checked, which is, in this case, if you type in GUID for the type and click on it, and it's a global unique identifier, and the game generates these uniquely in each time you generate one, and apparently you can get millions of these before you'd even start seeing a duplicate. So This should be fine for the worst case scenario that you've got, what, 100 keys in the game, if that. So I think this should be perfectly fine for a unique ID. Save, and that's how the key structure done. So all the lock keys have a name and an ID. Yep. Let's close that. We now need a way of storing those in our character. So we'll go to your first person character blueprints, first person character. You might be using your own character. If so, go to that. And if you come in here, you remember this we put in here in the event graph. Make sure you're in the event graph here. You get the IA interact, and that's all we've got in here at the moment. But what we're going to do is we're going to add in a mini inventory just for keys. Now, you don't need to create this if you have your own inventory system. All you need to do is add that structure to your blueprint for your key. So if each of your objects that you pick up, generally they will be objects in the game, so they'll generally be a blueprint actor. You need to just add the key information into that key, and then all you do is need to search your inventory instead of this variable I'm going to create now. So I'm going to create a new variable, and we're going to call this player keys. Yeah, and it's going to have type st space lock keys. You have to put the space and not the underscore, because it doesn't read the underscore. It's always a space, and I'll make that visible. But like I said, this is where I'm storing my keys. If you've got an inventory, add the information for your key into that. Yeah, this is just like a temporary storage place for all the player keys, just to show you this working. Over here you want to change this type to array and compile and save. Now we have somewhere to store the keys, not a problem. We also need now to tell the door what key to use. So we need to add a variable into this as well. So we need to add in door key, and we're going to call this st. We've got a type, sorry, the type of this is called st keys, is a lock key, sorry. And we'll make that visible, and we're not going to set it at the moment. There is a key here. I'm not going to set that at the moment. It's going to be 0. Right. We're not going to use, we're using the same structure just to make things easier. I could just put a type of GUID there. In fact, no, I'm going to leave it at that, because then we've got the identifier as well. Yep, it will always put that in there so that you can always check on your object that we've got the identifier. Right, we now have that. So we now have a way of telling the door what its lock is, what keys needed, and we now have a way of storing keys in the character. So let's have a look at how this works. Let's minimize this and we'll run. So if we shift F1, we come up here and we've got our, I'm just going to show you this quickly work, and then I'm going to show you a little bit more of how to put this together. So modern door 01 has a door key, but it's not generated. It's all zeros and there's a blank name. Yeah, so we need to get a key onto our character, which we can then put onto the door. Yeah, so if I scroll to my first person character, now unfortunately they don't put the variables at the top on the first person character. It overrides it, puts all the animation and mesh and all that at the top. So if we just type in key, player keys, I'm now going to add a player key. So if I hit plus, and in the name I'm going to do it in true Resident Evil key, style, and put the name of a heart key. You can have a diamond key, a spade key, a club key, but its a value is zeroed, which is invalid. So we need to generate a new one. There we go. So we now have a new key. Before we move off here, we're going to right click on this index and click copy. Okay, so we have a key on the first person character. Okay, we now need to go to our door, delete the key part, and we need to set it as locked, and we know that works. So we come back in here and it won't open. Shift F1, right click on the door key, click paste. Yeah, it's now got the heart key. If I click on here, it's not doing anything because we haven't told it to yet. So that's basically how you would link them up, but you could probably do this in editor. So if I escape out, you can put that information in here. So let's do this. Oh no, we can't do it in here at the moment. I've just realized because I don't have a character in here to copy it from. So we'll have to do it on the fly, but you can generally put the key in here if you have the character preloaded in and don't use the spawn character. Bear with me, my alarm is going off for some reason. So yeah, we have a spawn character, we don't have a character in the scene, so I can't set it that way. So let's put code now to check for the key. So back to our door. Why is it not coming up? There we go. Oh, I'll click the wrong one. So back to our door. We've done the check on the construction script. We've done the check when we're opening and closing the doors. But now what we need to do is check if we have the key. So that will be done in our open and close event graph. Now you may have this in the standard event graph, but if you remember, I put mine in here in the open and close event graph. Go to wherever yours is, and where we've put this branch, we now need to do something if the door is locked. We need to check if the player has the key. Now, like I said, this might be a little bit different on yours because you'll be checking your inventory. We're going to be checking the player keys. You would be checking your inventory for the matching data. So the door is locked, true. So what we need to do is we need to get the first person character. Now we've got the player here, but it's not of type first person character. And the reason we didn't do that is because we didn't want to keep breaking this every time we change characters. You might change it several times before you're happy with one. So all you got to remember is on this occasion, you will need to modify this next piece depending on if you change your default character. So you're true, you need to drag off. Sorry, let's just go back just so you can see. Your is locked branch, the true. You want to drag off and you want to type in there cast to BP, and you want underscore first person character. So that should match. I've got mine still open here, the character you're currently using. That's the same cast here you need to do. So if you've called yours and you've got a new character called BP, survival character or horror character, you want to cast to that BP horror character and so forth. Okay, we have the character here because its base class is character, which is what player is there, character object reference. So the base class is a character, so we can bring this out and into object. Double click, bring that down, double click, bring that down. Okay, I'm going to worry about blocking this off because that goes straight into there and it doesn't come back, so we'll just carry on. So this now casts to our first person character. That gives us access to everything that character has now. So if your inventory hopefully is stored on the character, which I thought it might be, but that's how I would do it. But that's where you get this information from. You may have stored your inventory somewhere else. If so, this is where you need to get something, a link to that reference so you can get to your inventory or your player keys like we have here. So cast failed. We don't want to do anything on cast failed. Now if cast fails, that means you've done something wrong, and because this is a cast failed is a developer issue, not a user issue. It should never fail for a user if your code is correct. You may want to put a notification on here just in case that does fail, because maybe you forgot to change this BP first character to the new character you're using. That will just trigger you to say, okay, wrong type of character or something because the cast failed. Just send a message to your output log or print screen or something. But in this case, we know this is correct. we've made it, so you shouldn't really need error checking, but sometimes it's nice to if you plan on changing things later on. So what have we got? We need to cast to this classic character, and we do. Now we need to get their keys. So from here now, we should be able to get player keys, we call it. Yep, get player keys. We now have a list of all the keys because there's an array in there, and however many there is in there, we're going to now go through them. So from the exec pin, which is basically, if we get the cast to work, it should say success really here, would help, wouldn't it? Drag off, and we want to do a for loop, a for each loop. Okay, and from there we want to drag our player keys into the array input pin. So this now is going to iterate through all the keys. If you've got 100 keys in there, it's going to check all the keys. All right, then what we're going to do is we're going to let's change this. Let's drag off, and we'll do a for each loop with a break. I'll show you why in a minute, and then drag those in. The loop body is all the code that will run for each key or array element in player key. So all the keys in this list, this array list. So what do we need to do? We need to check to see if the key matches the key that's on the door, which is here. So we need to right click here and split struct pin, because we don't care about the name. We can't match the struct directly. We need to match just the ID only. And the same here. So if we drag the door key out and click get door key, right click and split struct pin. So now we have the door key ID on the door and the current element in the array of our IDs of keys. And that's what we need to match up. So we need to bring this down and equal, and drag that one out to there. Doesn't matter which pin they're in, doesn't make no difference whatsoever as long as they're both in there. We then drag off the loop body, and there we do the branch, and the condition is here. There, not the pin, onto condition. Let's bring this to here. It's a bit noticeable. So now we're checking to see if it matches. If it doesn't, we're not going to do anything. We're going to move on to the next key. No problema. If it does though, however, we want to now perform an action. Let's just unlock the door and set the value to say open. Now we know it's only going to be open because to come to this point it has to be closed anyway, the door. So we're just going to change the value from unlock to open, and that's all we're going to do. And we're also going to set the state of the lock to not a lock, right, or not locked. Confusing. Right, so if we have a match, we're going to set that to unlocked. Now I could use a not boolean on it, but I might as well just leave that blank because I've got to set it anyway. I might as well leave that blank. So we've set it to unlocked, and then we're going to open the door. No, we're not going to open the door. We're going to set the value of the opening text, and that's easily done. So we need to get the interact text, and we need to set that, and now it becomes open, right? And that will work. But what I'm going to do, well, in case you've got 100 keys in there, just to make things a little bit more, let's just tidy these up, sorry. So let's make it a little bit more optimized, and what we're going to do, we're going to send this set out to break, and all that does, it finishes the loop. It'll no longer loop for the rest of the keys because we've already found them. We don't need to do anything on completed. We've already done what we need to do, and we're just breaking out of it because we don't want to search all the other keys. You might have thousands in there. I very much doubt that, but we don't want to keep checking them. But you may use this code for something else, for checking something completely different where you might have thousands in. So it's always best to use the break so that you don't do any unwanted loops through stuff when you've already found the information you want. If it's false, it'll break off there and it'll automatically go to the next one in the loop. Okay, so if you save that, we should now be able to open the door. So let's come into here. The door is going to be locked. We're going to not set this here because at the moment we can't auto generate something for the character. So we're going to now run this, and as you can see it should be locked, but we haven't got no keys in that identified. So Shift F1, you need to come to your first person character. In the search here, at the type in key, we need to add in a player key, and we're going to call this, in true Resident Evil fashion, heart key. The heart, the spade, the diamond, that sort of thing. This is an invalid ID, so we need to validate it by generating one. Here we go, and it's generated a key. We're going to right click, copy. Yeah. So at the moment we've got this heart key on us. If we come back to here, we still can't do anything with it because it's not opening. Okay, we need to tell the door that the heart key is what it needs to open. So Shift F1 again. Let's come down to our door, and we need to right click on the door key name here, door key, and click paste, and it puts the same details in that I've just copied. Yeah. So if I come back to here now and I unlock, it's now unlocked, and I can open and I can close it. Yep. Let's come Shift F1, relock the door. So if I lock it again, and if I delete the key, yeah, so if I invalidate this to 0 and just delete the name, yeah, come back in, and we've got a bit of an issue there because it's not saying locked. Oh, that's because I manually changed his locked. That's my fault. Yeah, ignore that. That wouldn't happen in the game because I manually changed it to lock just to show you here. So yeah, it's locked again anyway. We know it's locked. Yeah, right. So what we could do on every check, we could actually put that back to locked and it wouldn't be an issue. So Shift and F1. I am now going to come to my player character and type in key here. Get to player keys. I'm going to add a new one. I'm going to call this the spade key. Press enter, and I'm going to generate a new ID, which you can see they're different. I'm then going to right click on index 1 and copy this. In fact, yeah, I'm going to copy this, and we're going to go to the door and we're going to paste it. So now we have the spade key there, but let's for now come back to the first person character and we'll delete the spade key. I know we've just put it in there, let's just delete it. I could have just done that on the door and created it there and copied it, but don't need to save. So if I come here now, go to open, it's not opening. We've got the heart key, but now we've told it we need Shift F1 the spade key. So if we come to the character again, let's add this spade key back in by clicking plus, right click on the index and paste back in what we've just took out. Come to here and it should open. Yeah, so it unlocks and then it opens. There we go. Perfect. So that just goes to show that you can use different types of keys, and if you've got them on you, you can open the door, and you just have to verify that the player's got the key. If you've got an inventory system, all you got to do is check through your inventory system and get the detail of the key out of there. You might not use an ID like I've done, you might have just used the name. That's your choice, but just make sure you use the same convention on the door and it will just work. It's probably best that the character, rather than using a spawnable character, I've just left it as it is for this, is actually place the character in game and make it that one playable. Then you can actually really put things like this on the character already, especially if they start with a key already in their inventory. So that shows you how to open and close the door. So let's come out of that. What we could also do in true Resident Evil style is tell the player what they need. So what we could do, if we go into our content drawer and go back to our lock keys here, and if we add a new variable and we type this, let's type probably description. There we go. We're going to set this value to string and save that. If we come into our, no, we won't come into either our first person character or anything like that. Let's run this and let's add this in by hand. So no, let's not do that yet. Let's put some code in. Sorry, let's put some code in. What we want to do is we want to go into our HUD and we're going to add some extra information. So our HUD, I've still got mine in here, I believe, yeah, in my blueprints next to my first person character. So if we come into our W HUD, we already have our text block here and we have our icon. We could always also put another text block underneath this. So what we're going to do is we're going to add another text block underneath. So we've already got our interact text box. Let's add a spacer first, just to make this a type spacer. Drag that down onto our interact box and it puts it below. Then we want to add in a text, standard text, which is a text block, and we drag that onto our interact box and it comes out underneath. Spacer, I'm going to change the size of the height of that to 10 maybe. Yeah, 10's fine. Now I'm going to keep the text bigger like that and we're going to delete the text out of it. Highlight it and delete the text block. There we go. We're also going to set it as where are we looking again? I'm going blind, from visible to collapsed. Okay, compile and save. We now need a bit of code in here and we're going to rename this. So if we get to this text box, we'll rename this, instead of leaving it text block 152 or whatever yours is called, we want to rename this to player info. Tick is variable. We need to create a function that controls this. So if we go into our graph, so if you click the graph in the top right here, okay, this was our function. It's automatically gone in there for me, but it might not show. It might go straight into your event graph. We do need a new function. So if we add a function, and we're going to call this fn show player info. We'll call it info. It's information. It's not. You'll understand why I've called this in a minute. And we need to give this some default values. I don't know why they don't show it on this side and they put it down here with all the inputs and that. It's really strange. Our inputs to this are going to be information, and it's going to be type string. Yeah, compile and save just to make sure we don't lose anything. So how are we going to do this? We're going to set a timer to show some information to the player, and after that time has expired, we're going to delete it. Yeah, so to do that we need to drag our text box out. So it was called player info get. Yeah, and we need to set text. There we go, set text brackets text. Put that into there, and the text we're going to put in is the information. It will just put a text to string, this is fine. So, which is another reason why sometimes you really should use text for localization, but just for this purposes, it's just a quick transfer from text to string. It's just that that's not, string's not localized. So we're setting the value of that text, and then we're going to show it. So from here, we want to set visibility in behavior, not in widget, in behavior, and we want to set that, oh, dragging everything everywhere, set that to there, and we want to set that to visible, yeah, visible, and then to there. Let's just put that there and press Q, line it up. Right, so what that does, it shows that player info and with that text in that we've just sent. Okay, compile and save just to be safe. We now need to create a timer. So to create the timer, drag off here and we go set timer by function name. The time on the screen, how long do you want it to show? 3 seconds? Let's try 3 seconds. We don't need it looping, we don't need it once per frame, and we don't need no initial start delay or variance or anything like that. What we do need to do is put a function into this. That's not a problem, we'll do that in a second. But what we also need to do is add a variable in here, and we're going to add player info timer, and we want to set this to timer handle. You'll see why in a minute. It seems a little bit convoluted, but it's not. This is quite important because you could have a bunch of timers going off when you've just, all you've done is override the text on the screen. You don't want it to keep happening, so you only want it once. So we need this timer handle. So if we drag this off and put it on there, we're setting the timer handle into there. Yeah. But before we do that, somewhere in the middle here, we need to see if this timer is already running. So let's bring this over, because we don't want to start a new timer if there's already a timer running. So we need to destroy the old one. So if we drag off here and we invalidate, clear and invalidate timer by handle. What a mouthful. Clear and invalidate timer by handle. So we'll put that in there. Yeah. So if there's a timer running, we don't need to check. I don't know if this is going to cause an error actually. Valid timer. Ooh, if I spell it right. I don't know if this will actually cause an error if the timer is invalid, if this info timer is invalid, and I've put some weird text in there in for info timer. Let's say it might error, it might not. Right, so what we're doing, we're clearing the timer if it's there, gets rid of the timer. We'll start a new one and set the new value again, so that we don't keep getting lots of timers overlapping each other. It just, right, this timer is used for one purpose and one purpose only, so let's just reset it. Okay, we now need to give it a function name. I hope I'm explaining this properly. I will go through it again in a second. We need a function name, so let's create a function. So functions near the top, we're going to put plus, and we're going to say, right, fn hide player info. It's not a player info, it's player information. It's an information shot kind of thing. So hide player information, what does that do? Well, it basically, we're going to get our player info, we're going to set text, and we're not going to put any text into it, so we're going to blank it out. Always best to blank it out before hiding it, and then we're going to hide it. So I'll drag off here, set visibility in behavior to collapsed. Always collapsed. It works better than hidden. Don't ask me why. I've always used it, so I'm going to highlight Q. There we go. So we're blanking the text out and we're setting the visibility to collapsed. We could invalidate the timer handle here, but I don't think we need to, because I think once the timer's expired it does that anyway, so there's no need to mess around or anything like that. So if we just compile and save that, so we now have a function in our function list here that shows player information. So this is what it does. We send the information we want to show to the player. We set the text to the box that we created on the screen, which is this one here that's now currently blank. Yeah, so we're setting the information to that. We are then making it visible. We're then checking that there's not already a timer running. If there is, clear. Well, we're just checking. We're just clearing the timer. End of. We're not checking. We're clearing the timer and invalidating it. Yeah. Then we set a new timer for 3 seconds and set the handle to this figure here so that we can always clear it afterwards and reset it. So we now need to put the function name in there that we created before. So if I click on there, hit F2, Control C, or right click and copy and paste that into the function name, and that's it. That's the HUD done. All right, we now have to get some information. That information is going to come from the description on the key. So let's minimize this down. We're going to come back to our door, open up our door in the background, so it is already on. Close the HUD because we've done that. Close lock keys because we've added the description part in, and we're going to go to the door. Right, where do we show the information that it's locked? It's always going to come through completed. Do we check it before? Yeah, no, let's just do it now. Let's just do it here. So we're going to tell the player that the door is locked and it needs a particular key. So what we need to do is, we've got our key here, drag this out, get door key. So we need to now send that message to the HUD, and we've already got the player, we've already casted. So from the player we have the HUD from our interact. So if we get BPC interact trace, yeah, that gets the object interact trace, and in there get, is it HUD? Yeah, get HUD. I'm sure that's what we called it. Get HUD. Let's just double check. Let's get into my first person character. I'm pretty sure if I open this up, we store the HUD as user data. Let's BPC interact trace. There we go. Couldn't find it then for a second. Yeah, we saw it's just called HUD. Just making sure it's obvious really when you look at it, but just wanted to make sure. So we've got our HUD, we've got our door key, and we've got some information to give to the character. I think what we'll do is we'll add a variable in here. And are we in, we're in an event. Let's add a variable. So plus on your variables and say found key. Yep. And just give that of type Boolean. Make that empty. Before we start, we want to set that there just to blank. Yeah, found key. If we find the key, we want to set it here as true. So we'll grab set there and we'll tick it. Okay. What that does is that tells us when we've completed this, whether we found a key or not. So when it comes out of here, because regardless of whether it finishes or not, even if you break, it will always come out here. So we need to now check. So branch, there we go, branch, and unfound key. If we have found a key, then what we will do is just take this here, which is the door key, and let's split the struct. Right click, split struct. And here we will, from our HUD, sorry, FN show player info, in fact we'll do this, yeah, we'll do it this way, we'll do it this way, and the only info we want is this, but we want to build on top of this. So to build on top of this, let's just tidy this up. Let's bring that level with that, and then that, that, and that. We'll just bring down a bit. There we go, just a little bit tidier. Bring this down because we need this down here. We need to build a little string of text that we want to say. So we're going to come off here and we're going to go to no, we don't want to come off there actually. Let's just right click, append, and you want append a string. There you go. It comes up just as append, but it is append string. And in A, type in there, you have unlocked the door with the and then put a space. Always make sure you put a space. And this one, we'll just use the name. Yep. And then here we'll drag this into the information. So let's junk all this together so it just looks a little bit more sense. If it's false, we want to call the same thing. Let's just actually just Control D this, bring that down. If it's false, we want to come down. And we want to do the same sort of thing again. So we want, let's just get a duplicate of this rather than drag things all over the place. And then we need another right click, append string. And if you can't spell append, you won't find it. Append string. In the top one is, this door is locked. There is no, that's not there, is you require the and a space, you require, that's it. And we'll bring the description in on this one. Okay, and we've dragged that one into there, and let's tidy that up and tidy this up. Let's really should have done a lot more tidying up of this. So let's do a little bit here and press C. Tell user the door is unlocked. And this one, press C. Tell user the door is locked, and by what key? Make that a little bit wider. There we go. I'm going to bring this one down. Okay. I'll just, if you click on the branch here, right click and go to this part here, you can actually make a comment. Check if we found a key. Yeah, and that will just press enter, it'll come up above there. Right. I should really comment a lot more of this up. I really should. So let's do that because it's a little bit messy, I must admit. We need all of that, but we don't want those. get rid of those, control click these, and I don't want those, and I don't want those. I just want to bring this down and maybe across a bit. That's it. So this one, see, iterate through all the players' keys looking for a match to the door. Yeah, right. I won't do all of that at the moment, but I probably should. But let's just get on with it. I don't want to spend too much longer tidying things up too much. So what we've done, we've told the user now what's going on with these, okay? And oh, I've got an error somewhere. Where is my error? Target for what? Oh, I haven't put the HUD in. My mistake. Bring that back. Make sure the HUD's in there, otherwise it won't work. Let's bring that down. Bring it. Sorry, I like to level things up. There we go. So yeah, tell the user the door is unlocked, and this one tells the door is locked and by what key, and we get that information from our structure, which we're going to put it in now. So if we run this now, and at the moment the door is locked, you require, but as you can see there's a bit of an alignment issue there, so I'll have to change that in a sec. Shouldn't be much of an issue. I'll change that in a sec. We need to shift one because we can't store a key at the moment. Let's just do one key. Modern door. No, we're going to do 2 keys actually. We'll try this with 2 keys. So no, not modern door, character. Go into the character, add a player key, make sure key is in here, just makes it easier to see, and we're going to say heart key, and we're going to generate and a key that has a heart shaped handle. I guess it's the handle. I don't know what you actually call that part of the key. Heart shaped handle. Okay, let's add another one, and then we'll call this the club key. Yeah, and generate, and we want to call this a key that has a club shaped handle. Right, we have 2 keys, and we need to copy one of them. So let's do the cart key for now. Copy, and let's go to our modern door 01, and we're going to paste it in. So we have a key with the heart-shaped handle. Now what I'm going to do is, because I've got it copied, I'm going to delete that one from the character. So delete. Make sure it's still copied. Doesn't matter, we can copy it from the door anyway, but let's make sure it's copied. Come back here, and the door is locked. You have a key. Oh god, where's that? Have I highlighted the character? Haven't I? Shift F1. Let me just unhighlight the character. There we go. The door is locked. You require a key that has a heart-shaped handle, and it disappears. And if I keep hitting it, it's still going to last the same amount of time, and the timer handle disappears. So we're not overlapping timers. So the door is locked. You require a key that has a heart-shaped handle. Okay. What we're going to do now, Shift F1. Let's put the key back into the first-person character. So we're going to add an element back in, right click on the index and click paste. So we've got the key. Let's see what happens now. You have unlocked the door with the key with the heart-shaped handle, and open. There we go. Open and close. Open and close. So I didn't really show that very well because of the highlighting of it. Okay, so that's how we do that, and that's how we add the keys in that require. We could have used the spade key, we could have used either. You need to set these keys somewhere. So if you once you generate your blueprint with your key and your key information in, So you'll have a blueprint character with all this generated already. So if I did this now, if I just to show you, if I go generate and I go diamond key, and we'll say I'll put a lowercase there. I think it'll look better. A key with a diamond shaped handle and a full stop. Okay, if I save that and I double check that the door was locked. Did I lock it? Yes. So if I run this now, we haven't got that key on us, but this door is locked. You require a key with a diamond shaped handle. Yep. So that's now got to be tidied up in our HUD. So this one will need to be center and center. I think that one's center and center, isn't it? No, it's not center and center. I don't know why. I've got it set to fill. I don't want it set to fill. I want it center and center. I don't know why I've done that. So my mistake if I'd shown you how to do that. And this one's center and center. So it should look a bit neat and tidy now. That's better. You require a key with a diamond shaped handle, although this, I think there that the actual box isn't wide enough, so we'll fix that as well. This box here isn't wide enough. We had it 800 by 200. We're going to set that to 1000. In fact, let's make that wider. What is the width of the screen? I think it's 12 something. That's got to be more than that. Let's go 1500. Yeah, that will be fine. That will be fine. And now it should look a little bit tidier again, hopefully, he says. Yeah, bang in the middle. You require a key with a diamond shaped handle. Okay. So now that's view. We probably shouldn't put that inside that box, to be fair, because that's the one we hide. So we could actually have another box here. So if we set the height of that to say 150, and then we come to the size box, and can we add something into that? Should we try another? Which one's this? That is our interact box. Yeah, I don't want that to have the player info in it, because we're hiding it and showing it. That's why there was a little bit of a glitch when I walked away from the door and it came back, because it's already in that interact box. So I don't want that in there. So if I put another size box into this canvas panel, and we want this one below there. So where did we set this one? This size box was 200, 1500, 150. So aligned our anchors to the bottom, I believe, on this one. So for some reason it's not showing why it's not aligned down there. So this one we need to anchor bottom middle, and we want to 0 that. In fact, yeah, we do 0 that, and position Y we want minus 50, maybe not quite enough. We'll go back to that and we'll put minus 100. Yeah, that's not too bad. And the size of it will be, now what did we send the other one? 1500 was it? Put that in the wrong one, didn't I? 1500 by 100. 100's a little bit too much. Should we try 75? Yeah, that's fine. And then we need to align this 0.5, 0.5. Little bit too high now because I've done that 0.5. So let's bring this down by minus 75. That's better. So that's our separate box now, and if we delete the spacer and just drag the player info into the size box, it should appear there. So let's minimize that down. Let's run this. So interact, and now if we walk along away, we're not getting that flicking up and going, like if I walk away it doesn't disappear and come back. Yeah, it's showing it just as every time we try it. Perfect. Now we have a door that opens and closes with an appropriate key. I hope that weren't too confusing. It's hard to do these sort of things when people are using different ways to store their inventories. So what you need to do is use the same concepts here of what I've done, but if you already have an inventory system in mind, then you need to integrate the search for your key information from that inventory. Apart from that, everything else should pretty much stay the same. You just won't have the array of player keys in your character. So I hope that's a little bit easier to understand than I make it look. But yeah, it seems to be doing its job. And let's just shift F1. Let's see what keys the player has. Let's just make up a key for the player. So let's get to the player character first, and we're going to go to keys and add one in, and we're going to add the spade key again, and we're going to generate one there, and we're going to give a description and a key with a spade shaped handle. We'll stop just to prove that this isn't working. So I'll come up, but I need one with a diamond shaped handle. Of course I do. So let's go to our door, find our door key, right click on the word door key, copy, go to the character, add a new one and paste. We now have that key. Let's highlight the thing again, and then if I come back to here, it says you have unlocked the door with the diamond key. And now you won't say anything else because we know it's already unlocked. Unless I go shift 1 and come to our door and get rid of that and just put it locked again, and it should just come up saying we've unlocked it again. You've unlocked the door with the diamond key. There we go. Hope that was useful to you. There's different ways you can go around doing this, but at least this gives you a little bit of information back to you for what's going on, whether the door's locked or unlocked, and so forth. So yeah, let's just hope that was useful to you. Not sure what the next episode will be yet. I'll have a scratch of the head and think about that one, but hopefully I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching, and goodbye.